Well, good morning. As of 8 a.m., Tropical Storm Elsa was located 35 miles west of Cedar Key, Florida, with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour. It is now speeding up, going north at 14 miles per hour. On the forecasted track, it will make landfall near Steinhatchee in the next few hours. Tornadoes remain possible across northeast Florida into this afternoon. The state EOC remains at a level 1. The division has received 92 resource requests for Tropical Storm Elsa. 57 of those have been fulfilled, and 21 are either en route or being mobilized. As of 6 a.m. this morning, there were about 26,000 customers across Florida experiencing power outages. Most of those are in Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Polk counties. There are more than 10,000 restoration personnel prepared to respond to these outages as soon as it's safe to do so. In the event that counties need to provide food and water to residents, we have prepared supplies for points of distribution, including forklifts, traffic cones, tents, and other necessary items. The division has staged 24 generator units, 24 water pumps, 5 HVAC units, and 64 pieces of equipment such as forklifts and pallet jacks used at logistical staging areas. There's not been reports of really significant structural damage anywhere in Florida, fortunately, at this point. As of 7:30 this morning, no healthcare facilities have reported power outages. Our Agency for Healthcare Administration is in close coordination with healthcare providers and will assist with the transfer of patients if needed. As the storm passes through Florida, there are some important safety precautions to remember. There are reports of flooded roads and trees down. Don't drive your vehicle into standing water. As little as 12 inches of fast-moving water can carry away a small vehicle. Be aware of fallen or hanging power lines. Don't approach or touch the power line. Report down power lines to your electrical company as soon as you can. If your home is taken in water, don't use wet electrical devices. And if you've lost power, do not use generators inside your home or inside your garage, and do not put it immediately by a window with the window being open. Carbon monoxide poisoning can be life-threatening, and there have been more deaths from carbon monoxide poisoning over the last 4 years than there have been for direct impacts in storms in Florida, and we've had some significant storms hit our state. So listen to local officials in your county health department on the safety of water supply. In the event of power outages, bottled or boiled water can be used for drinking, cooking, and personal hygiene. We're monitoring the storm as it makes landfall. We'll provide additional updates. I ask Floridians to simply be safe and use common sense. All things considered, where we looked at 72 hours ago, I think the impacts have been less than what we thought would be reasonable. So we're fortunate. We saw a little bit of a wobble to the west when it was approaching Tampa Bay, which potentially minimized impacts there. It is going to go into our Big Bend area. Not a lot of population there, but I think we're going to be monitoring over the next few days how that affects the river levels and some of the potential for flooding. Northern Florida has been very saturated over the last couple weeks, so this is going to dump a lot of rain on there and is going to exacerbate any of those issues. I'm going to let Kevin Guthrie come up and provide additional update.
Thank you, Governor. Again, thank you, Governor. Thank you for your leadership, as always. Thank you for stressing the importance of storm safety, especially as we begin to see some of those power outages coming in. As you begin to see damage from Tropical Storm Elsa, I want to emphasize the importance of documenting that damage in your communities. The division works very closely with FEMA. In fact, FEMA is here in our building on post-landfall operations to conduct damage assessments and ensure that all damage is properly submitted and documented. The best way to capture this damage is via photographs. This includes taking pictures of debris, high water lines, and property damage. You can assist in this effort by taking photos of the storm damage now. This will also help you ensure that any insurance claims you may need to submit once the storm passes will be obviously valid and help speed up that process. Accurate and comprehensive documentation of damage can help the state secure federal recovery funding. So as you begin to do your own damage assessments, please take pictures of your homes, the surrounding areas, and other areas in your communities. If you choose to upload photos of the damage through social media, please remember to tag the division so we can add it to our damage documentation as well. The division is at FLCERT That's at FLCERT on Facebook and Twitter. We'll use these damaged photos, as I've already said, to work with FEMA. Please stay safe, and please follow all safety advice given by the governor, the division, and your local emergency managers. The division will continue to work closely with our federal partners, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
And 2 weeks out, nothing, right? Do we see anything? Okay, so we don't see any tropical activity right now in kind of the 2-week horizon. But I would just caution people. This part of the year is really not the major leagues for tropical cyclone activity. I mean, as we get into the middle of August, September, early October, the vast majority of significant activity occurs during those time periods. Obviously, you can get it June, July, you can get it even in November. But this was something I think that we've been able to handle fine. But there is going to be more activity. I mean, we don't have anything on the horizon, but people just need to be prepared. And as these storms come, we're going to have to deal with them. So we'll have any additional updates, but I think you're going to see it go through the Big Bend and end up in Georgia today. And we'll look to see what type of damage is, and we'll be there to respond with any assistance that we can provide. That I could take a couple questions.
Well, Governor, I know it's been a relatively mild storm, but have any injuries or fatalities been reported? And also, what's the status of the National Guard? Were there any additional
I don't think we have any reported, correct?
There's no fatalities, and we've got about 50 national.
Yeah, so we have had no reports of fatalities. And then we've had 50 National Guard for probably the last 72 hours. But I would caution folks on the fatalities that we typically have seen fatalities after the storm passes. And so if you have, and there have been reports of debris falling on people's homes, you're probably going to see that. Just be very careful as you're clearing the debris. We have people that fall off the roofs when they're trying to work on this and pass away that way. Obviously, I've been stressing the use of the generators, making sure that you're using those appropriately. And we obviously have a very dynamic state. There's been a lot of people that have moved in here since we've had Irma. And I just hope that if this is your first rodeo, just please heed the warnings about handling power outages and handling some of the issues with your yard or with your debris, because that's the last thing we want to see is any type of injuries or fatalities for that.
Can I ask you about Surfside? As you've worked through that tragedy, 2 questions. There's a lot of people who reside in high-rise and aging high-rise condominiums around the state. Is there anything that you think that the state should be doing? Do you support asking for recertification of some of those very old buildings? And the second question is, how has this tragedy and working with those people and the families, how's it changed you?
Well, I think if you look, and I've said this before, we in Florida, those buildings are kind of a dime a dozen, particularly in southern Florida. You drive by, you don't even think twice when you're driving by some of these high rises. So you have a tragedy like this, and this is one where I've met with a lot of these families at this point, and you learn about the people who lived in there. Wouldn't have probably thought twice under normal hustle and bustle of normal life. And so you see the impact that they had. And I mean, these families, these are big, some of them big, beautiful, great families. And their lives have been shattered with this. And I think in different ways, depending on the individual that's missing. But you see that pain is very, very deep. And I think the fact that the building came down and there was a waiting game, and those search and rescue were there. They were doing everything they could. They did everything right. The Israeli team, when they came, said that those Miami-Dade folks were doing everything right. But I think the agony of not knowing, could there be a rescue? Could they potentially see one of their loved ones? And then you wait, and then you don't have the news. And I've talked with them and say, we just wait by our phones, not knowing when we're going to get any type of news. And so I think not knowing has deepened the agony and deepened the grief. And of course, those guys are working round the clock to be able to identify everybody. But it's been, I think, a unique tragedy. You don't expect to see that many that many folks impacted. When I first got the reports early morning, they said a partial collapse, and I was thinking like maybe some balcony or some part of a building, but then when you look at it, I mean, it was a massive collapse of a structure, which just doesn't happen in this country, and I think it's been devastating for Surfside, but also the broader community in southern Florida, and really Florida and throughout the world. I mean, those folks, we have people coming from all over the world to mourn the tragedy. And these are folks who touch people. I mean, I talked to the Israeli prime minister. I mean, obviously they sent folks. We have a lot of folks who had connections in Latin America, and then obviously right here in our own communities. And so it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough to get everyone back on their feet. I mean, even the folks who didn't lose anyone but then left their units. I talked to folks that literally, if their unit was 10 yards more in one direction, they would have been in the rubble. And they actually have pictures of showing as they're leaving. You have people that escape. That's a very traumatic experience. And then all their possessions are basically gone. Their home is now gone. And I was, when the building was demolished, I asked, is there any way we can let them go in and get their possessions? And every single person said it was too dangerous to be able to do that. And so, and that's very sad, because you have everything from valuables to family heirlooms to all these other things. So now yes, all of them 100% thankful that they're alive and with us. But you look at that, getting those folks off their feet, what's that going to be doing in terms of the mental health and the traumatic experience? And then, of course, the families that lost somebody, it's going to be a deep wound for a long time. And but as tragic as it's been, I think the outpouring of support has shown a lot of great parts of our community. Certainly the people that are first responders, and they are invested in this mission. I mean, you got to pull these guys off that pile. They want to be there. They want to be able to identify. They want to be able to participate in this rescue mission, and it's something that's really deep in them in terms of accomplishing the mission. And then as new people come in, we've had teams from out of state come in to give our guys some relief. They get very invested in it. And so to see that, and to see that singularity of purpose has really been heartening, because these are folks who are on the front lines for us. But then also to see how the community's responded. I mean, there's been a lot of money raised. We're obviously, I want to get that money to use, and so we're working with some of those groups to be able to do it. But I think that there's so many people say, what can I do? They want to do more. We're going to be able to do a lot more even, once we get past this initial search phase. So I don't think the state's ever going to quite be the same. And, but I'll tell you, you never want to go through the tragedies, but those folks there, they are leaving a very impressive legacy. And for those who are missing, for those who have been identified as being deceased, the impact that they've had, not just on Florida, but through folks all across the country and the world, has really been profound.
Aren't there some concerns, though, that this could impact the real estate market?
Oh, so here's what I would say. So we obviously want to be able to identify, why did this happen? Is this something that was unique to this building? Is it something that was unique to the person that maybe developed it? Because obviously there are sister properties. Is it something that buildings of that age that would have implications beyond that, whether southern Florida or the entire state of Florida? I think we need to get those definitive answers. I can just say, just having talked with people who've been on the scene, people who've done stuff, I think that I don't think that I think this building had problems from the start. Let's just put it that way. And so, so we'll see. And we need to do that. But so I wouldn't jump to conclusions about it. But at the same time, if there is something identified that would have implications broader than Champlain Towers, then obviously we're going to we are going to take that and act as appropriate. Okay, well, I don't know if we're going to need to do any more updates depending on what happens. Obviously, if there's more damage, we'll be back, and we potentially could end up going down to some of these places. But by and large, I think that the local response, everyone was ready to go. They did a great job. Clearly, this could have been worse from what we were looking at 72 hours ago, but you're always better to be prepared, and so that's what we did, and we're happy that everyone had all hands on deck over the last couple days. Thanks.